This is the sarcophagus of Junius Bassus. It is one of the oldest surviving Roman sarcophagi with outstanding depictions of Christian motifs. Junius Bassus was the city prefect of Rome and died during his office on August 25, 359. He was baptized shortly before his death and converted to Christianity, perhaps like Emperor Constantine on his deathbed. His sarcophagus is made of marble, is 2.43 meters long, 1.41 meters high and 1.44 meters wide. Today it can be admired below the Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican, in the Museo Storico del Tesoro. It is a two-register column sarcophagus, which, as was customary in the Western Roman Empire, is decorated with reliefs on only 3 sides, so that it could be placed in front of a wall. On the front, 2 registers with 5 scenes each are shown, separated from each other by columns. Above the upper register runs an inscription from which we learn the owner of the sarcophagus, his profession and his date of death. The lid itself is only very poorly preserved. Scenes from the Old and New Testament are depicted, with Christ appearing in both registers in the middle scene. His scenes are not framed, like the others, by columns with spiraled shafts, but by columns on the shaft of which erodes and vine tendrils are depicted. We will meet these erodes again later. But let's take a closer look at the scenes, starting in the upper left corner. Here we see the bearded Abraham in the middle. Next to him, Isaac kneels in front of the altar of sacrifice with his hands tied behind his back. Abraham has already raised his hand with the sacrificial knife, when at the last second the hand of God holds him back, which unfortunately is broken off in the upper left corner today. A young servant stands behind the altar. On the left is the ram that will be sacrificed instead of Isaac. In the scene to the right, Peter is shown being captured. In the following scene, which is in the middle of the register, we see Christ enthroned, flanked by the apostles Peter and Paul. Christ is depicted in the manner of Roman emperors. His feet rest on the head of a bearded man. This is the sky god Salus, who stretches out the firmament. A symbol of Christ's reign over the whole world. On the right follows a scene that stands in direct contrast to the middle one. Christ has been arrested and is now being brought before Pontius Pilate by 2 soldiers. In the following scene, we see Pilate thinking. That he will condemn Christ to death on the cross is already indicated by the servant on the left, who will wash his hands. In the scene below, the central figure shows the Apostle Paul, who is arrested or led to his execution. The reed plant in the background indicates that the scene takes place near the Tiber River in Rome. To the left you can see an old bearded man between 2 young men and 2 lions. This is the Old Testament depiction of the prophet Daniel in the lion's den. This is followed by the middle scene of the lower register, Christ's triumphal entry into Jerusalem. The young Christ on the donkey symbolizes Christ's earthly triumph, while the scene above glorifies his heavenly triumph. In the penultimate scene, the fall of man is shown. It is the only scene with only 2 people. The third one is replaced by the snake that winds around the tree of knowledge in the middle. It shows the moment when Adam and Eve become aware of their nakedness and turn away from each other in shame. The lamb and the bundle of grain next to them indicate the difficulties that lie ahead for people with agriculture and animal husbandry. Or they may allude to the imminent offerings of Cain and Abel. In the lower left corner, we see a scene that is very rarely shown in Christian art. Job, who has lost everything, sits with his head bowed. In front of him stands his wife, who holds her robe in front of her face to protect herself from the stench of his rash. She obviously hands him a piece of bread that she has skewered on a stick because she does not want to touch Job and infect herself. On the sides of the sarcophagus, we see a theme taken from Roman art. Erodes carry out seasonal harvest work. For example, they harvest grain and olives, as can be seen here. Or they are depicted harvesting vines and pressing wine by crushing the grapes in a vat with their feet. The depiction of the earthly and heavenly triumph of Christ shows the hope of the early Christians, such as Junius Bassus. They also hoped for redemption and resurrection after death and decorated their sarcophagi accordingly, as we have seen in this outstanding piece. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so you won't miss new ones.